Yes, very good morning to all the participants. Welcome all. Okay, I thank Varsha to basically giving the starting session. Okay, and yeah, I was just looking at your introduction. I could see that most of the students are basically engineering graduates who are presently pursuing engineering. Yes, there are few participants who have completed engineering and looking for a job, and few people who are basically working professionals. Right now. See, we have basically been working with a lot of companies as well as with the colleges, as well as Cranes being a finishing school. So what we basically observe is it's not just about the job. From the student point of view, we think that there's a job shortage, there's not many jobs, companies not hiring. But if you basically look at from the company's point of view, they basically say that participants are not well versed. Okay, they are unable to solve problems, right? Okay, so there is a gap between the industry and the academia. Okay, we'd like to basically address those things. Fine. The Cranes is basically running courses to address those particular gaps. Next. Now, as we know that almost all the companies now basically conduct assessments where they do an aptitude testing, as well as they also get into MCQ based questions, plus there is a programming based questions, which we did not have it. If you consider 10 years back, companies never used to conduct programming test through the programming platforms. Now we have a lot of platforms, and many companies, or you can say almost all the companies, basically evaluate candidates based on the programming platforms. Now, as a student, what we generally see is we tend to do the problems what we basically are given in the class. We work on a regular IDs where we have our standard input statements and standard output statements, and then the other coding aspects, right? Now, we are good enough to basically reproduce what we study. It's more like by heart and then rewrite it, and that is how we basically pass the examinations. Okay, majority, not everybody. Right, and then we expect that it will be the same thing. We need to basically work in some particular compiler, right? It is just like running through a program with a very small input and then trying to just show the output for the examiner, and then we can basically pass. But here, the companies, instead of using a human to basically do the evaluation, they basically use computers. The platforms where the questions are not straightforward as what you studied in the academia. The question will be twisted. Okay, first we need to understand the question. That's first thing, right? Many times we do a mistake of understanding the question clearly. The next thing is when you try to solve the problem, we might be able to solve the problem and basically pass some of the test cases. Okay, and if you basically run it against a series of large test cases, then we might not be able to pass all the test cases. We might basically get like time limit exceptions. Probably that could be the first kind of problems what we might face, where you would have never faced such kind of problems in a regular studies. Fine. So what is this time limit exceptions? Why do we encounter? Okay, what could be the areas? And then one more thing is, as I said, that we generally tend to use a lot of IO statement, meaning reading from the standard input device, depending upon the language what you use. Like for example, C, you might use your scanf, or might be if you're using your Python, we might basically use input function. The same way, there were a lot of printing statement like printf or print functions of Python, or SOP of Java, whatever it is, right? So, but many of these platforms expect that the input and is already given as an argument of a function. We should write the body part of the function, and then we need to just return the value. We should not print the value. So people who do not have experience working on such kind of platforms will face a problem the first time they basically attend, right? And luckily, we do have platforms which allows us to practice. There are a lot of platforms, like we do have HackerRank, which is completely started by Indians. It's been around 12 years that HackerRank is in a service and one of the leading platforms. And then we also have LeetCode, is also a very popular platform. Then we do have Geeks for Geeks, again Indian platform, right? So we do have a lot of platforms where we can practice program and prepare ourselves for interviews. So in this particular session, we'll be working on how to work on these platforms, then we will try to see that how we can solve problems. To begin with, I'll basically start off with solving some problems on HackerRank problem. Okay, then I'll try to also demonstrate the other platforms which are available, like Geeks for Geeks, which is a very popular platform for studies, but we can also use it for solving problems. Then I'll also show you the lead code problem, and then I'll tell you, overview of each of these platforms, like what is a good thing about it, what are the shortcomings, right? What we can basically work on, and in fact there are many others, right? Okay, so let me just start the session by solving the problems, guys. Okay, guys, the first thing is the platform is called as hackerrank.com. The platform name is called as hackerrank.com. So here you can just see this is the name of the platform, right? Now this is used by a lot of companies, all these listed companies, plus many more. They use this platform to conduct interviews, and if you basically use this platform to practice problems, then probably we will also have an idea of how the questions are framed, as well as you can also get into solving it, right? Now here you might be seeing that here the next this is basically a message for the companies if they basically wanted to utilize this platform for conducting interviews. But now we do not want to hire people, we basically want to practice programming. So here you can just see for developers, you can just click on this particular section here, for developers. So I'll try to get into this for developers. Right here you can just log in through your Google account or LinkedIn, GitHub, Facebook, any of this. I'll try to log in out here. Yeah, the first time when you log in, the interface could be a little bit different when compared to what you could see in my case. Okay, so the first time you log in, and if you have not used this platform before, it's going to ask you some information about you, like what is the purpose of logging into HackerRank? Are you a student? And then if you're a student, which year you're going to pass out? Are you looking out for placement opportunities from HackerRank? All this information, and what is the language preference, what you basically have, all these informations, right? So you can fill in this, and then you can come to it, right? So it's going to give you a customized one depending upon what is your language choices. See, here in this platform we can work with various languages, like in here you can just observe algorithms and data structures, which can be done using any of the programming languages. You have problems based on mathematics. It's programming problems. We're concentrating more of mathematics. AI related, you have programming language like C, C++, Java, Python, Ruby, SQL, Linux shell, React, Regex, functional programming. So you can just see there are a lot of topics what we can look into. Now, if you want to solve problems on a specific platform, if you just look at this, either you talk about this section like C or C++ or Python or Java. If you basically select this, what happens? This basically provides you questions where in a way where you can basically apply these skills to understand the concepts of the language, right? So like, for example, let's say I do understand that everybody has knowledge of C, but I just wanted to know, like, which language would you guys prefer to solve the problems, guys? Which language would you guys prefer to solve the problems? C, C++, Java, Python? C. Right. Right. Okay, good. So we have, people are mentioning C, Python, good number, Python, C, right? Fine, guys. Yeah, you can select the language of your choice. Every language has its pros and cons. So since different people have different choices, I will show you a little bit about C and Python and everything, right? I'll try to solve problems using C, C++ as well as Python, right? So you can just click on the C. If you get into C, you can just observe you have introduction to C, the sections out here, conditions and loops, arrays and strings, functions, structures and enums. Remember, this is more of language per se. So if you just look at introduction to C, it tells you the basic things: hello world, playing with characters, very basic information about functions in C and pointers in C. And then again, if I basically get into this conditions and loops, we can look at some different problems which can be solved using the looping constructs, bitwise operators, printing pattern using loops. Okay, so this way, right? So we'll just try to look at, okay, one simple problem. Okay, we'll start off with hello world. Okay, then we will try to do some problems quickly, and then we will try to look into the other language, what and all we basically, okay, provides, and then, okay, and then we'll try to solve some problems on data structures and algorithms where the complexity of the problems will be a little bit more. Fine. And then we will also look into the other platforms also. Most of the time will be spent on HackerRank. Okay, guys? Right. Now, I'll just get into this simple introduction. Hello world. Okay. Now, if you just look at this particular question, you could see that the question is quite lengthy. So you should get a habit of reading lengthy questions. Okay. It clearly explains what this particular problem says. So we can just read it out here. You will learn some basic concepts of C that will get you started with the language. You will need to use the same syntax to read input and write output in many C challenges, right? So what is the task? This challenge requires you to print hello world on a single line and then print the already provided input string to stand output. Okay, right. So it says I will be giving the input like s equal to life is beautiful, and then you should print hello world, and then you should also print the value present in this particular string. Okay, right. Then you can just look into this. Here comes your programming interface. Okay, you can just look at this. So this particular portion might not be present, right? So here you need to write the code. Okay, or I can just try to reset this code here to get the basic one. Now here, this is a basic code which is given. You have a array, you have the input statement already. You need to print hello world. Now I might write hello world. Okay, and then I might say, okay, I would like to print the value of yes. So I'll try to print yes. Okay, I just written this printf here, sorry. Okay, after this, I feel like, okay, fine, let me just try to run. Okay, when you just run this code, you will see some problems, right? What is the problem? So here you can just see, yes, we wanted hello world as the output, but please observe it is expecting a comma out here, exclamation mark, and then welcome to C programming should be in the next line, not in the same line. Just like hello world doesn't mean that, okay, fine, somebody writes hello world with two spaces, somebody writes hello comma world, right? So no, here we should basically write, okay, the program which basically gives the output in the expected format. There cannot be any change. There cannot be any change with respect to the case. They can, okay, even if there is a comma or exclamation, everything has to be as per specified. Remember, you could see hello world, you could see that input which is given, okay, by the user, right? Welcome to C programming, which is read through the scanf, printed through printf, but my program is wrong because we expected hello comma world exclamation mark. In next line we need to write this. So what is the modification to be done here? We should write hello comma, we have to write exclamation mark, plus after this we should also write a new line. Okay, once I've done these changes, I'd like to run this code. So here we can just see it is basically passed. But yes, when you run this code, it basically runs against a sample test case, or there might be few sample test cases, one or two, okay. But doesn't mean that it has passed, okay, tested against all the test cases. So for that we need to again submit it. So how do we submit it here? So there is a button called as submit. You can just click on the submit, and then it's going to pass against a series of test cases. Okay, so this is a very simple hello world thing, but yes, there will be a series of test cases. And then once all the test cases are passed, then you will get score for this. Fine. So this is how we need to okay, understand that, guys. Fine. Okay. So there is a run code, there is a submit code. Very simple one. So what we basically, Okay, what we basically learnt is the output should be exactly in the same format what is expected. You cannot even miss a comma or explanation, or not even the case change of case. Even if you write h as lowercase, they'll be considered as a problem. Okay, this is a very simple problem. So we'll just go back and try to get into a problem, probably in the looping section, conditions and loops. Okay. Right. So here, let me take up any one program here. We'll try to work on this. Sum of digits of a 5. Okay, here again coming to the interface part. This interface you can see is okay, full screen. Okay, where two sides, one's left side you can basically see the question, right side the window where we can actually do the code, or we can just okay remove the full screen in way where you see the full question first, then down we can basically get the window to write the code. Fine, let's read this. It says the modulus operator returns the remainder of a division. 4 mod 3 equal to 1 and 12 mod 10 equal to 2. The ordinary division returns a truncated integer value when performed in integers. 5 by 3 is 1, not 1.66. To get the last digit of a number in base 10, you use 10 as a modular divisor, right? This is okay, the objective. Given a 5-digit integer, print the sum of its digits. Okay, so you will be given 5-digit number, right? So we need to extract individual digit. Okay, how do we extract individual digit? The problem is clearly said that you can use the modulus operator, and then okay, you can also remove this digit by dividing by 10. Then once you keep extracting individual digits, you need to add up. Like here, as of now, I basically have a number 10564. Okay. So first, what should I do? I should extract the last digit, get this last digit. I'll just try to say that this is my number and this is my last digit, and I'd like to write sum of digits. Sum of digits. Okay. So first time my last digit should be 4. How do I get it? With the help of modulus. Then that one should be added to sum of digits. Okay. And after that, you need to remove the last digit. Once you remove the last digit, the number should become 1056. Then I should again get the last digit of 1056, which is 6. And then it should be 4 plus 6, which should be 10. Then again, I should remove the last digit. It should become 105. The last digit of this is 5. And then it is 10 plus 5 is 15, right? Then again, remove this. 0, 15 plus 0 equal to 15, and then again remove this. So last digit is 1, so it is like 15 plus 1 equal to 16, and finally this will turn out to be 0. So here we have to see that when should we stop? We need to stop when the number is turned out to be 0, or since this particular problem is clearly said the number is always 5 digit, we can run a loop for 5 digits. But if you want to basically write a program where the number of digits could be 2, 3, 5, 8 and everything, then we can basically use this as the condition to basically stop. And what should we do? Okay, they can also observe here there is a lot of repetition. We perform the same operation. We extract the last digit by just try to write mod 10. We try to get mod 10 to basically get that okay last digit. And once we get the last digit, we add this last digit to sum of digits. Initial value of sum of digit will be 0. So it's like more like 0 plus 4 equal to 4. Okay, that will be added back into this variable sum of digits, right? Again, we need to remove the last digit. To remove the last digit, we can write divided by 10. Okay, I'll be doing the program, but yes, I'll also be showing that if I have to, if I want to understand, okay, what is happening at every step, so can I add in between print statements in this platform or not, right? Okay, so if you're basically learning programming, if you want to debug, yes, there are a lot of other platforms. I'll show you those platforms also. But yes, in these platforms, it does not allow you to do step-by-step execution. The only way to perform step-by-step execution in these things are only by using print statements. Fine? Okay. Now, I'll just quickly try to say, okay, fine, the code to read a number is already done, right? So I said I should repeat a loop while n is not equal to 0, the end condition. What I'd like to do out here, I would like to get the last digit. Let's say last digit equal to, we can write the code. How do we get? n mod 10. So you might be thinking that no, first we should declare all the variables. We know that we need to declare, but don't think that you cannot go back and redeclare the variables. Okay, this thing like, okay, I need to get the last digit. So that will be like n mod 10. Okay, this variable has to be declared in C and C++, Java, everything. We need to declare variables before it is being used. Okay, then we can think, should it be only within this loop or it should be outside the loop, right? Okay, right, Python, we don't need to explicitly declare. Automatically, if you assign, the variable is created. Fine. Okay, last digit is created. Then I need to add up this to sum of digits. So I require one more variable to basically have sum of digits. So I'll say sum, okay, I can just write sum or sum of digits equal to the existing value of sum plus the last digit, right? And then after that, I'd like to remove the last digit. Okay, remove last digit from n. See, this is just a comment. See, comments are not really required while practicing on the programming platforms, or for that matter, while giving the like during the interview process. You don't need to write it. But whenever you're trying to practice programming, okay, in that particular case, I would recommend that you please write comments that will really help you out to understand, okay, what is the purpose of writing it. Okay, so if you want, you can write the comments here telling that get the last digit, right? And then add the last digit to existing value of sum, and then remove the last digit and put it back into num. Okay, how do I do it? Num divided by 10. So I require this variables. I can declare the variables here. Last digit. Always initialize the variables. Don't leave the variables uninitialized. Okay, these are the only variables what is required. Okay, once you complete the loop, I can try to print here. So do we need to just write print numerical value? Remember here, just that numerical value, nothing more, not even a space at the beginning. Okay, what is it? Sum. Okay, right. Now I'd like to first run this. I got the output, I can submit it. But yes, generally what happens quite often that when you basically write the code for the first time, there's a possibility that you might not get the right output because there could be some kind of logical errors. Okay, so we need to use debugging. So whenever you're trying to practice programming, when you're not working on these platforms, when you're working on a regular compilers, I would basically say that learn how do we do step-by-step execution, understand that. Okay, one such platform to basically do that, to understand, okay, in a very, very easy way, it is provided by all the IDEs, either starting from Turbo C to GCC to VS Code, okay, or Visual Studio, everything, right? Even your, okay, Spider, okay, PyCharm, everywhere, fine. But online, there is a platform called as Python Tutor. There's a platform called as Python Tutor. But yes, this has some restrictions that it cannot read value from the user, but I can always assign the value and then basically work around it. So this portion is not supported by this particular compiler. Okay, but this, I can take up any value. I can take up the number, whatever I have it here. So probably in the sample input, 10564. If you want to understand what is happening at every step, okay, so you can do that by just click on visualize execution. So you can see what is the value of n. You have three variables, n, last digit and sum. Initially, none of them is set. So once you execute line number 8, you can see that line number 8 has set the value of n. Last digit is set to 0, sum is set to 0. Is value of n not equal to 0? Yes, it is not equal to 0. Okay, so enter in, get the last digit should be 4. Yes, we got the last digit as 4. Then sum, the existing value of sum is 0, 0 plus 4 is 4. Then now observe this line number 20, does it remove this 4 or not? Okay, so you can just observe, it does remove this. So this way you can just observe, we can see, okay, 6 plus 4, 10, again 6 is removed. Then next, now last digit will be 5, 10 plus 5 is 15. Okay, then again 0, 0 plus 15, again 1, 1 plus 15, and then finally you can just observe, you can try to print it. Okay. So this is a very nice platform to basically perform step-by-step execution without any kind of headache, right? Okay. Now I'll just be sharing you the link in this chat. Link could be quite lengthy, but you just need to click on this link and you should be able to access it. Yeah, there's a lot of people who basically mentioned that they basically work on Python. At least as of now, I've started using a platform wherein the name of that is basically Python. It's called as Python Tutor. It's a very good platform to basically work with C and Python. Okay, especially C and Python, especially when you work with pointers, when you work with sets, you talk about list, all these things. It's a very good platform, okay, to understand how programs basically work. Yeah, for C++, simple C++ programs fine, but whenever you use STL, okay, this is not a good platform to understand the internal functionings of STL, right? Okay. Yes, since our objective is basically to cover more and more problems, so I'm not giving you time to basically, sit and practice for this. Okay, fine. Now I just showed you that in C we do have sections like basics without even loops, then coming to arrays and strings, then functions, then structures and enums. So you have this 1D arrays, how to work with arrays. This will teach you how to basically work with each of these topics, right? I'll just try to take up 1D arrays in C. Again, I don't want to see this interface. I would like to see the question full. If you just look at this, again, it is as if like you're reading C for the first time. It tells you what is an array, right? How do we create an array here, right? Okay. The above array is static array. It has memory allocated compile time. So this particular thing, don't get confused with the keyword static. Okay, here the meaning of static means there's two things. One is dynamic, the other one is static, meaning the case where you specify the size while writing the code rather than allocating the runtime. Okay, a dynamic array can be created in C using malloc function, and the memory is allocated on the heap at the runtime. To create an array, how do we do this, right? And then we have to also use a free statement. Okay, create an array of size n dynamically. We are supposed to create an array of size n dynamically. So remember, this teaches you how to allocate memory dynamically and read the values from stdin, iterate the array calculating sum of all elements, print the sum and free the memory where the array is stored. Okay, well, it's true that you can sum the elements as they read without first storing them into an array, but you will not get the experience working with an array. Efficiency will be required later. Okay, fine. So based on this one, so first line of input will be how many elements you have in the array, followed by second line of the input will have the elements mentioned one by one. Then you need to basically perform sum of all these elements. Remember, what we just did previously was sum of individual digits of a number, but here we have an array, a group of elements, right? We have to read, and next operation we should basically perform the sum of all the elements of the array. Okay, so here is basically giving you two inputs, one input, one sample input and output, so that you can understand, and another example, same like input and output, so that you guys understand. Fine. So this particular thing has clearly specified that you're supposed to read. This thing should not be written. Okay, for the time I'm just keeping it. I'll try to run this and you will see that there'll be a problem if I don't have that. Then I need to allocate memory dynamically. How do I allocate memory dynamically? I can use malloc, and yes, you need to have knowledge of malloc. What is a malloc? Malloc is a function which accepts one argument, which is the number of bytes to allocate, and then it tries to allocate memory in the heap section, returns the starting address of the allocate block. And what I have it is n. If I just try to say n, it will allocate memory for n bytes. It will allocate memory for n bytes, not for n elements. Fine. Okay. So if I have to allocate memory for n elements, I should use n into size of int. Okay. Right. And yet, since I wanted to demonstrate this in more detail here, visualization, I'm using this platform here. I do agree with the restriction of this. If I say just n is 10. I'd like to see how many elements we can store in this, right? So I've just tried to write this. N is 10. malloc. Please observe, you will be able to store only 3 elements. Okay, not even 3 to be more. Okay, it's just 2 full elements and third element partially, right? So you can just see it's not about 10 elements, just about 3 elements. But if I want to store elements as 10, not 3, then you should write size of int. If you want to store float, we can write size of floats. Okay, n number of floats, n number of double, we can specify that. And here you can just see it has allocated memory to store n elements. And yes, so we got to know that it should be n into size of int. Okay, this is again a common mistake what we basically do. Okay, we just pass on n rather than passing on n into size of the data type. Okay, yes, obviously when you basically work with C++, okay, the syntax is a little bit different. We use new, or might be if you guys basically you tend to work more with vectors, right? Okay, the same way with Python, we use the relevant data structures. Okay, I'll try to incorporate a little bit of C++ and Python also in this session. Fine. So once the allocation is done, we need to check out is allocation successful or not. We can just check out if ptr equal to null, then it means that we could not do allocate. So I'll just say unable to allocate memory, and I'd like to terminate the program. Else, I'll go ahead with this. First, I need to read. To read, scanf. Okay, remember just the name here is pointer, or if you want, you can basically use an array as a name, and later on you use it as if like you're basically working with an array. No difference. The way working with the array, which is statically created, or a pointer pointed to a dynamically allocated array, exactly same, no difference. And after that, you'd like to calculate the sum. I will try to create a variable called as sum, and here what I'd like to do, I'd like to write sum equal to sum plus access individual element of the array. Okay, and finally you need to print the value of sum. Do I need to just print the number, or do I need to write just the number, nothing more? Okay, here you can just see I have basically written this printf, which I was not supposed to write. So let me try to compile this and show you that what is the problem here. First thing itself, there's a problem here saying that enter the number of elements. Okay, and then see, you can just see the output, like my program is also giving the output as 51 and expected output is also 51, but my test cases says that it's failed. The reason, I have basically printed this message, enter the number of elements. Same case, if you just look at this also, same case. Okay, I'm getting the right output. The only problem is that extra message. So don't tend to write this extra message, which we generally do it when we do a regular program, okay, on a regular IDE, because once the programs, you start execution, so you'd like to give some message, the prompt, so that the user can understand what he has to do next, he or she has to do next. Then only, the user will enter the appropriate input. But here, we are not supposed to write those, print statements. Okay, this is one common mistake what people do, right? So if you want to understand more in detail, like how it is basically happening, you can always work with Python tutor. And one more thing, once you complete the task, remember we have to release the memory. Any dynamic memory allocation, we have to release the memory for free. Okay, without free also, it did not give you any error, but yes, on the paper, they will always look out, have you deallocated memory or not? Okay, if there is any memory leakage or not. Okay, since this particular problem involved dynamic memory allocation, plus whenever there is a dynamic memory allocation, there is always a probability of a memory leak. We call it as memory leak. Okay, that is any memory which you allocate dynamically, but you did not free the memory. That is basically called as memory leak, right? So how do we avoid memory leak? So once you complete the work, we have to basically release the memory with the help of free. Okay, now there are various ways through which we can detect memory leakage, but here I would like to stress on the online tool itself, which will help us to detect memory leakage. Fine. So one of the online tool which helps me to detect memory leakage is, you have this online GDB. I believe many people might be aware of this particular platform, because again, we can use this to work on various languages, C, C++, Python, Java, everything. Okay, this is a platform where we can work with various languages, a very popular online platform. So I'd like to basically do this. Now I would not like to write free here. I've commented this, and my objective here is to basically see if I can detect memory leakage. Without free, yes, there is memory leakage, but does the problem, is it detected by default, or do I need to do something? Okay, I've selected C language. Then here I'll say, okay, fine, I'd like to enter 3 numbers. Output is fine. Remember, I did not write free. It did not say anything about memory leakage. But the question is, how do I detect memory leakage in this online GDB? Okay, so you can just, in here there is a flag called as sanitize equal to address. Okay, sanitize equal to address. So you can just try to mention that, and then you can try to run the same. Your program starts. Let me enter the same. And finally it said that 12 bytes leaked in one allocation, because you allocate 12 bytes of memory out here at malloc, but you did not release the memory. So here, if you try to write this, then you tend to same problem. Fine, this output. Okay guys, I'm sharing you this link. You can comment this free and then work around, and you can uncomment and work around. You can just click on this, and then you can just have a look at, comment the free statement and verify, and uncomment and verify. Okay, if you still see like what is that option, you can always go to YouTube and just ask question like how to, okay, you can just, yeah, nowadays we go to ChatGPT, but you can always go to YouTube also and say, okay, how do we detect memory leakage in online GDB? You can just go there. Okay, this video will basically again tell you the option. Okay, you can see me out here. Yes, I will be solving problems on Python also, right? I'll be solving problems on Python also, guys. Okay. Right, guys. So let's look into this. We have worked with simple arrays, or with the equivalent of that is basically list out here. So I'd like to work on some problems where you can just use Python to solve it. Fine. Okay. Now let me just try to see swap case is built-in function to swap it, and then string split and join. Yeah, this is quite easy in Python when compared to other languages. So let me just, okay, let me try to increase this font size. Fine. So let's try to read it. In Python, a string can be split on a delimiter. Okay, by default it is a space, right? So you will be given a string of multi-words, and that's going to split as each word as a separate element into a list. Fine. And later on it says that we can also combine a list of strings into one string with the help of join. Okay, right. Here what is the task? Complete the split and join function in the editor. Okay, so what should we do? Any input which is given as string, first Okay, whatever the spaces in between has to be replaced with hyphens. So I'd like to show you out here. First, whatever might be the input. Remember, here they're basically giving one sample input, but we know that your program will be executed against a series of inputs. Fine. So first, I'd like to have some debugging information also. I'd like to first know what is this line. Okay, I'll just say initial input, right, which I'll need to comment it later. Then what should I do? I need to split. So I'll try to write line dot split. Okay, line dot split, and then this will basically give me individual words. These are like words, list of words. Okay, after that I would like to join. So for join we specify delimiter. In this we specify delimiter. You can write hyphen, dot, whatever it is. As per the problem statement is hyphen, dot, join, pass on the words. Okay, and that will give me the final joined words, or I'll try to call it as final sentence, and a meaningful name, and I to write print final sentence. And it is also expecting us to return final sentence, the result. Okay, yes, I have written a lot of intermediate print statements. Okay, so what is the purpose of that? That is basically for me to basically understand what is happening at every step. If you can just see here, this is a string. That is my input part. List of words, this is what happened. And finally, okay, after merging them with this is a string, this is what happened. And then this is the final output printed. So I know that it is giving the expected output. Only thing is the intermediate things I would not like to print this. So I just printed this intermediate so that I can understand what is happening with split, and the same way what is basically happening with the join. But yes, doing the same thing especially with C is very complicated. Let me repeat, this particular task of just splitting a string and joining the string is quite easy in Python, but it is quite complicated in C. Okay, and in C, if you basically want to split, it cannot be done with a one line. It has to be done with a kind of a loop and everything. And for that, we basically use something called as strtok. We use a function called as strtok. Okay, right. So since there are a lot of people who have basically worked on C, just want to know that, have you come across this particular function strtok? Strtok function. If you have come across strtok, you can say yes, otherwise no in the chat. Right? Okay, guys. Yes, one thing, it is never as easy as Python, right? But if you wanted to know, okay, that how to work with strtok, okay, or how, okay, strtok basically functions, you can use strtok, and then where is this? Okay, you can see, I hope you are able to see me, the same person here, right? Okay, so you can look into this particular video and try to understand more about how strtok is used to split a string and how it functions, okay, at every step. Since there's already a video lecture, I would not like to repeat the same thing what is present there. Just search for strtok, you should be able to get it. Right? Same task which can be done in Python can be done in C, but only thing is it is a little bit complicated to basically work with that. Fine. So we basically start working with Python, and yes, okay, you can just observe we can work with various languages. So same way out here, if you have basically wanted to look out for problems related to sets, problems related to dictionaries, you can basically look into this. You can just look at set and I can say, okay, fine, I'd like to work with, okay, how to work with add function, how to add elements to a set, how do we check out what is symmetric difference, okay, difference and symmetric difference, right? So we can, okay, XOR operation kind of thing, right? Like for example here, so let me just tell you, okay, when you basically work with set, right, set is a collection of unique elements. Set is a collection of unique elements, fine, okay. When you have two sets, okay, then we might basically wanted to check out what is the relationship between this. Like I would like to basically, okay, I have two sets, S1 and then S2, right? Some elements in S1 and some elements in S2. So what are the various set operations I can do? I can basically do the job of UDN, meaning get all the elements of S1 plus S2 all. If some elements are occurring in both S1 and S2, then make sure that there is only one occurrence in the resultant set. Okay. Intersection, the common elements, okay, the common elements, right? And then if we have difference, right? If I say S1 minus S2, give me only those elements of S1, but it should not be occurring in S2, right? The same way, if I write S2 minus S1, give me the elements of S2 which is only occurring in S2 but not present in S1, right? Now you have one more thing called as symmetric difference. This says give me the elements of S1 and S2 except those elements which are common, except those elements which are common. Okay, so how do I basically do this in this language? It is just a set of operators, fine. So we'll just try to look at it. Yes, I will be using Python tutor plus this. So let's try to look into this question once more. I'd like to look at this where I can see the question fully. Okay guys, what does it say? If the inputs are given on a one line separated by a character, you split to get separate values in the form of a list. The delimiter is a space. To specify that comma is a delimiter, use, okay, split with a specifier. For this challenge and in general on HackerRank, space will be the delimiter. The list of values are all integers. Use the map method to convert all the strings to integers. And yes, I think people working on Python might be aware of map, but let me tell you, when you basically use map, you are indirectly using a concept called as function pointers, which we generally do it in C. But yes, many times people studying C might not be aware of function pointers, but here Python, okay, we use, okay, maps quite often. We use callback function. This is an example of callback function and all, right? So most of them would have already gone through this map. People have studied Python, right? Okay, now it tells you what is set. Set is an unordered collection of unique values. It is not guaranteed to be in arranged order, fine. A single set contains values of any immutable data type, right? It can be integers, it can be strings, okay, but here we are going to work only with integers. Then how do you add elements? With the help of add, we can basically add elements. Update, we can, if you have another set of, okay, elements, we can basically or add everything to this. We can basically use update, okay. Then discard to remove and everything. Common set operations, union, intersection, difference and everything. We have functions here like called as union, intersection, difference, okay, we do have this, right? Now given two sets, print the symmetric difference in ascending order. Okay, the term symmetric difference indicate those values that exist in either M or N but do not exist in both, right? If I basically have to say, if I say this is my S1, this is my S2, then give me these elements plus this, give me these elements, but I don't want this. I don't want those elements which are common for both. Fine, I don't want those elements which are common for both. I want all those elements. I want these elements which are, okay, part of S1, but this should not occur in S2. and the same thing in this. Okay, so for doing this, one thing what we can do it is, we can do with a separate built-in thing which is to find out a symmetric difference, or without symmetric difference, what we can do first, we can get all. Okay, we can get all, and in that you can just remove this portion. You can remove this portion. Okay, right. So I'll just first show you out here in Python tutor, then I will just show you back on the particular platform. I can use Python. Fine. I'll just try to take some numericals, or it might be I'll try to take a string. Okay, so I'll write S1. Okay, is a string. Let me try to write my name. S2 equal to Cranes. Right, and that is just strings, not sets. I'll try to create a set here. I'll say set1 or set A equal to set, pass on this S1, set B equal to set of S2. Right, I'd like to observe what happens when you use a set out here and you pass a string which is an iterable object. So please observe this. So first, what we had it Sikandar, there was no duplicates, right, but it's not in order. It's not in order. The same way, Cranes out here, right. Now I'd like to know what is, like, if I do a union, what happens, if I do an intersection, what happens, if I do a difference, what happens, and using that itself, if you want, you can basically calculate symmetric difference. In fact, there is a separate operator for symmetric difference. Fine, so we understood this. So then I'll just say, I'll say U equal to, we can use set EA dot union, or I can just try to write set EA. There should be an operator here, set B. Union means all. So here I'll just give you a choice, like, now, people who know Python, I think for them it should be very easy. For people who have not worked on Python or might be especially set, then I think this people can try to answer it. I want both, either it is in A or in B. So union basically means either in A, either in B, or both in A and B. So which one should I basically use? The ampersand symbol, which is more like a AND, or the OR? Which one do you think should we use? Instead of telling you this symbol represents this, I'm just telling you this is like an AND, this is like an OR. So if I, in a union, I want elements which are either present in A or is set B, or even if it is present in both, it's perfectly fine. Should I use the pipeline character, or should I basically use the AND symbol? Perfect. Or, because we wanted either A, either B, or both. So we wanted this, right? Your intersection is set A and set B. And then difference, S1 minus S2, or S2 minus S1, they're different. I'll say D1, which is difference 1, is set A minus set B, and then I'll try to write it like set B minus set A. They are two different things. And here I'm not trying to use print, I'm just trying to understand things through the visualization itself. The sets. Now, anything which is present in both Sikandar as well as Cranes, that should occur only once. Which are those characters? R is present both the cases, so it should be only present once in the final one. A is also present out here, right? Then S is also present here. Then N is also present here. E is also present here. Only thing is C of Cranes is not present in Sikandar. Everything else is present. So you should basically get how many characters do we need to have it in U? Sikandar has 8 characters, Cranes has 6 characters, and in that except C, every other character is repeated, right? Or you can say common. So here you had everything of Sikandar plus we added C. So what are the common elements? The 5 characters. Except C, everything else of Cranes. RANES. Difference, D1 minus D2 is different when compared to D2 minus D1. Okay, let's sorry, set EA minus set B. So here I'm trying to write set A minus set B. So in from Sikandar, remove every character which is occurring in this. So I will be removing N, I'll be removing it, E, I'll be removing it, C is not present, R, I'll be removing it, E, I'll be removing it, and S, I'll be removing it. So at the end, I'll end up becoming a kid. So if I remove Cranes from, okay, Sikandar, I'll end up becoming KID, which is a kid. Yes, before joining Cranes, I was a kid, okay, because I'm with Cranes from past 20 years. Fine. The same way, if I try to say, if I want to remove set B minus set A, so remove those elements which are present in, so you will be left out with only C. You'll be left out with only C. So I'd like to verify this. Okay, kid, the reverse order here, and here's C. Fine. So we saw this. Okay, now we would like to do symmetric difference. Symmetric difference. Let us try. Okay, there is an operator already, but from this itself we can try to understand without using symmetric difference operator. So if I basically have to write it here, okay, this is SEA, set A, and this is set B, right? So we had N which is common, E which is common, we had C which is common, we had R which is common, A which, okay, sorry, C was not common, this is S, right? Only C was present here, only C was present here, CR, even A is also present. CRANES, then S is present here, I, K, A is okay common, and D is present here, right? So when I say symmetric difference, I want to get excluding this, I want to get this portion, okay, KID, whichever order, and C, I wanted this. So for this, what I can do with is, you have taken this union, right, from this minus this one. So remove N, remove E, remove R, remove A, remove S. So we can just see KID, C. I can do this, right? So union minus the intersection, we basically get the symmetric difference, or there is already another operator to basically perform the same operation. So we can say the union minus intersection, right? Okay, I'll say result 1. This is like symmetric difference SD1 is one of the ways. The other way is SD2 equal to, remember, union and intersections we have already calculated here. Otherwise, we can write set A, there is XOR operator symbol, set B. Remember this symbol, okay. If you have worked with integers, it's basically called as XOR. If this is basically used with sets, it's called as symmetric difference. Both this will basically do this job. So I'd like to understand this. And what is SD1? SD1, and the same thing through SD2. Okay. Same characters. There's no guarantee about the order. So we understood this. So we'd like to go back here and try to work on this particular platform. So here the input says that the first line will tell you the number of elements set 1, then the elements, then the number of elements second, okay, second set, then these elements, and after that all this, okay, what is this expected answer out here? What is that we are supposed to get? So we are supposed to get this number of elements in each of this. This is input, output of symmetric difference integers in ascending order 1 per line. Okay, so we have to put in, except remove those elements which are common. Remove 2, which because it's common. Remove 4. So these 4 elements, 5, 9, 11, 12. Okay, sort it out and then basically print 1 element in each line. Perfect. Okay, so I'd like to first do the job of reading. Here, reading, okay, if you have never worked on these platforms, okay, on Python, then I'll tell you, you will face a big problem reading the input itself, okay, because here all the inputs, when it is given in single line, we cannot just run a for loop and try to say I would like to read, okay, element by element. So instead, because the input function will read 1 line of text, right? So the entire thing will be treated as 1 string. So you have to read 1 line of text, then you have to do a processing to basically split that into, okay, numericals, right? So if you want, I can first try to do this here. First one should be m and n. We can use any, okay, m equal to int of input. This is 1 line, just 1 input, m value. Then the set 1, set a, whatever we call it as. Here we have to first input and then we need to do a steps. Okay, this will be read as string. Then I need to apply a split. Okay, then after that, I'd like to convert every element to an integer. Either I can use a map function or I can basically use list comprehension. I'll try to use a map function. I'd like to apply this integer conversion function for every element in set A. Okay, right? So every element will be converted to set A. Okay, right? Again, it gives me iterable object. I'd like to convert this. But remember, actually this is, you're not directly reading as set A, it's basically reading as list A, right? And if you want to convert it to set, I can use a set function and I can just try to write this. Okay, and I would like to really understand this before I could proceed further. Then I'll try to write a 1-liner there. And yes, let me again tell you, this particular platform, this Python tutor, allows me to read input from the user at the runtime in Python language. In C language, it does not allow me. So first line, so let's see, first line, it is asking, okay, find 5 elements. First is 5. Then second line, enter 5 elements in single line. You can enter any values. Okay, please observe here, it sees, you can see that it is basically 1 string. Now I'd like to split. I'm keeping in the same variable. If you want, you can okay, capture this into other variables if you want. Now it basically became a list of strings. But remember, everything is basically of type string. I'd like to convert everything to an integer. Converted. Now, okay, I did not have any duplicates, but remember, as of now it's a list, but after this you can just observe it becomes a set. Okay, this basically makes more sense. If there was any duplicates, those duplicates would be removed in this statement, line number 5. Fine. So we basically learned this. Okay, how do we do it? Yes, if you want, you can basically combine that. Okay, all this thing, whatever we wrote in this 4 lines for set B, what I can do it is I can just try to write input. Okay, so this is same as input out here because, right? And then after this, I'd like to apply the split. So this basically combine these two. And since it will be a list of strings, I'd like to apply the map. For which one? This particular thing, I can just try to use map here. Okay, and first argument should be an int, and then this. And finally, yeah, here if I use a say, okay, list to see it as a list, meaning duplicates are not present, then if you want, you can basically pass on to a list where if you, okay, or then basically a set, or you can directly pass it on to a set. Let's see. Okay, but yes, here, how many elements do we need? Okay, just 1 liner. So I'll try to enter few elements. So first let us say 5 or something. Then we would like to see, there are some duplicates, 2 is duplicated. So we could see this. Okay, this statement. See, it allows me to even go to the previous step, this particular platform. Then coming into this next line, I'd like to again enter, okay, some elements I've entered, okay, right? So you can just observe, okay, let me just try to have some duplicates here. 6 is duplicated. Okay, fine, got it. Right? So whatever I could write it in multiple lines, I wrote it in one line, but here we could understand what is happening at every step, and here we could basically combine those things. So whenever you're basically trying to learn, okay, things, try to make sure that you try to split it, and then you basically try to understand each of this. And then what you can do it is, once things are clear, then you can basically try to combine things and make it simpler. So I'd like to do the same thing with, okay, so in fact, Python in this particular case, m and n is not much of a use case, because we are just trying to read the entire thing from one line of input, fine. But still, as per the format, since they are basically giving the input, we need to specify this. So then you need to print the symmetric difference. So what I can do it is set A, I can use this, set B, right? This is my result, and I need to sort this. I need to sort it and then print it. So I can write for element in sorted of result. I can basically try to print an element, and print by default prints a new line, so I don't need to explicitly do anything. Pass all the test cases. Or if I wanted to do it without using this, then how do I do it? I need to do a union of two sets. Okay, then what is the next thing to be done after doing a union? Minus intersection of this. Fine guys, both the ways we could do it, and we could basically submit it. We saw how. So let's try to read this question and try to understand this question first, then we try to look at solve it. The first thing is about reading the question, understanding the question, because slowly the quality of the question, the complex of the question will be increasing. So let's see, given a square matrix, calculate the absolute difference between the sum of its diagonals. A simple example is given. Okay, please remember, they have mentioned that they'll always be giving you a square matrix. So you need to find out the absolute difference between the sum of its diagonals. So diagonals is principal diagonal and secondary diagonal. So what are the principal diagonal and secondary diagonals here? So I do have this element 1, 5 and 9 basically make up the principal diagonals. Okay, and then I do have secondary diagonal. I basically have 3, 5 and 9. Okay, so I need to calculate the sum of principal diagonal and secondary diagonal, and I need to perform the difference of that. Okay, when I do a difference, see, sometimes the first, okay, principal diagonal sum might be greater when compared to secondary, like 15 minus 7 might end up giving you -2. So they say that just apply the absolute. Fine? Okay. So you'll just try to solve this particular problem. Okay. Is it always 3 cross 3? No. It could, okay, there might be 3 cross 3, 4 cross 4, 5 cross 5, right? But yes, one thing which is assured is basically it is a square matrix. That is basically which is assured. Fine. Okay, so let's work on this particular problem. Diagonal difference. Okay. So first thing is, let us try to write the code for reading the input from the user. First one, we have the number of rows, rows and columns. Will it be giving it as 2 separate values? No, they'll be giving you the size as 1. Okay, the same size we need to basically use it to specify the number of rows, number of columns. Right, this is my we can consider row value and column value. I'll just mention it as n. I'd like to read with the help of scanf. Right? Now I'd like to read the matrix. This for number of rows and this for number of columns. And here I'd like to read, but I did not create a matrix. So I need to create a matrix. Okay. It's like, how do I create a matrix? Matrix of n cross n. So I've done the job of reading. Perfect. Next, I'd like to basically calculate the principal diagonal elements. So now, let us try to see a matrix and what is that which is common about the indexes of the principal diagonal elements, and then we'll try to look into the indexes of the secondary diagonal elements. So I'll just use this so that we can visualize it. So I can just use C itself. I'll just try to create hard-coded value of int matrix of 3 cross 3 or maybe 4 cross 4. We can basically try to do it. Fine. And as of now, I'm trying to visualize it. So here my intention is to look at the indexes. Look at the indexes. I know the values all will be 0. I'm not bothered about the values. Let's try to look at the indexes. The index of the principal diagonal elements. These are my principal diagonal elements. Okay, yes. Right? Or if you want to see, I'll just try to say that this. So observe these indices. Observe this one. Observe this. So what I could see out here is the row value or the row index and the column index is 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2. Right? So since I need to only get this if the row index is same as the column index, there are two ways of doing it. I can either run through the entire matrix and I can say, okay, whenever there is row index is similar to column index, then get that particular value from the particular cell. That's one way of doing it. Or I would basically say, after getting the value from this, where you set the row and column to 0, just jump to this. Don't even skip this. Directly jump to this. Then from here, directly jump to this. That is, we just increment the row index as well as the column index. Same way column index. So you can either do it by iterating 9 elements of this matrix or just iterating only the principal diagonal elements. Okay. So if I have to iterate all 9, then the code will be like this. And in this particular case, if n to basically make it more of like working with any order, n cross n, same. And then we will see that only when I is equivalent to j, I would like to consider that. Okay, only then I'll say, okay, get this about, matrix of I of j. Right? Remember, there are 9 elements if the order is 3 cross 3. If the order is 10 cross 10, there are 100 elements, out of it we only need to get the principal diagonal, which is 10 elements. But we are trying to run through the entire array of 100 elements. Okay? Instead of doing this, so you can just see, I started with a very basic problem, slowly understood, and then slowly moving one across, a level higher up. Okay? Generally, when we teach in a regular classes, what happens is we don't run through at such a pace. We will make sure that we explain in more detail. We'll give the time for people to think and then respond, like how do they approach the particular problem, and then we try to listen to every approaches, try to incorporate that and see that fine, if there is any concerns with respect to your approach, if it is not wrong, then what is right, what is wrong in that, and then we'll try to take it further along, right? So that is basically what we do in a regular sessions. But here I would like to basically demonstrate more and more problems. That is the reason. And just this being an online session, It's like more of one-way communication. Okay, but offline sessions will be very much interactive. Okay, right. So this we basically got it for principal diagonal. Okay, now let us try to look into secondary diagonal. Secondary diagonal, row is 0, column should be the last index. If it is 3, okay, 3 minus 1 is 2. And once you want to come here, the row value will increment. See, it jumped from here to here, but the column value decremented. Again, the row value increments to come to this. The column value again decrements. Got it? Okay. Now, I would like to do it for this. This is my principal diagonal element and my secondary diagonal element. I'll just call it as sum 3. Here I require 2 variables. Two variables ing, but that doesn't mean that I require 2 loops. I require 2 variables. And till here we have seen, we need to just look at line number 18 and 19. How does that work? I'm just setting a breakpoint here. And observe carefully, I is set to 0, j is set to 2. I get the element which is 3, put it into sum 3. Then I will be incremented to 1, j will be decremented to 1. Now we can see, okay, I get that value 5, 5 plus 3 is 8. Then again I will be incremented. Fine. Everything's clear, guys? Okay, so in this case, okay, both principal and secondary diagonal elements are 15, but you can always take up different values and you can try to understand. And then since here I had already written the logic for this, see, whenever you want to perform step-by-step execution and try to, okay, understand, you can use Python tutor. But remember, this is all while learning the language. You don't have the option of switching from one window to another window whenever you're giving interviews. Okay, so if you're working on this, assume you're working on this, and I don't know, I've never worked on this particular problem before, so the possibility of me doing the right thing for the first time is less. So I might end up doing some mistakes. So logical errors. So I'd like to see how things are working. Okay, I'll just, instead of writing principal diagonal, just try to write principal secondary. Primary secondary, okay, or principal secondary. I'm just using this. And I'll show you how do I basically use just the print statements in this, because I cannot, in this platform, I cannot do step by step. I cannot do step by step. Okay, so the only thing which comes to rescue on working on this interview, okay, this platform is just using the print statements, right? So you would like to see for principal diagonal elements. First, let me just try to run this, and then once everything is working, then I'll try to show you, okay, that absolute value of principal and secondary. And for this, we'll take UT 5. For absolute is just a simple one. If the element is less than 0, just multiply by -1, otherwise the same. So you can just see it's working perfectly fine. But assume that I had done some mistakes, so I'm not getting the output. So how do I basically debug here? Because I cannot have this option of doing step by step. So if you don't have the option of doing step by step here, then you want to see after every iteration. Okay, so here I try to write before the loop, calculating principal diagonal. So here I'd like to see Varsha, kindly mute yourself. I'd like to know what is the value of I, what is the value of j, and after calculation trying to print. So I'm just trying to write what is the principal. Okay, or if you want to even incorporate this, what is mat of I of j. Okay, same way I can basically take this up. This is principal. I'd like to work with secondary. Right? And exactly the same thing. It's always good to use flap braces even as one statement. Here I'd like to see what it is. Anyway, I'll be commenting it after a while. And here it is not I of j. J is anyhow not present. Okay, so it is just I of I. Fine. So you want to print I and I itself, the row and the column part, because both are written as I here. Okay, so I'm just trying to run this. Don't worry if it is not passing test cases, because we know that we are writing this. Okay, so first iteration 0 0, and is this 11? Yes, and total sum 11. Then you got to 1 1. Then is that value 5? Yes. 11 plus 5 is 16. Then next you basically came out here. Okay, 2 2, and the value was minus 12. And then 16 minus 12 is 4. Correct? Same as secondary diagonal. Okay, so first it was 0 2, 0 2 at this particular place. Row index is 0, column index is 2. The value was 4. The total sum of secondary diagonal is 4. Again, you came to this place 1 1. Then the value is 5. Right? Then 4 plus 5 is 9. Then you came to this place. Okay, so it was 2 0. The value was 10. 10 plus 9 is 19. Okay, 4 minus 19 is 15. Minus 15. Okay, but after the absolute it became 15. So once you get to know this, then you can basically comment this. You can just comment this part. Okay, while working on this platform, remember the only way to debug is print. So it is important that you are aware of how do I debug only by using print statements, right? So when you work on IDEs, you get all the options, okay, to debug. But here we don't get an option. And one more thing is, since in Python many people basically tend to work with Colab or Jupyter Notebook, where they can write some value variable in one cell, then run it and see the output and then write the next one. But here we cannot do that. Everything has to be done as one entire program. So it's important that you write the entire program in one cell and try to run it, or might be okay for this problems, not for data science related problems. It's better don't work in Colab or Jupyter Notebook. Just try working with Spider or any other or command prompt. Just try to run it. Fine. So I hope this is clear how you could do it. C, C++. I think I've only used C and Python as of now. Let us try to look into some other language also. But we will try to look into apple and orange. Okay. First, let us try to look into the question, and then we'll try to understand like how do we approach this.
Okay. Hello.
Right. So here, so first spend time to understand the question. We can just see it's like more than one page question. Okay, it's quite a lengthy question. So many times what happens is like when you just look at the question itself, we'll feel that, oh, the question is so big, like will I be able to even understand and solve it? The first thing is like, by looking at the size of the question, you might say that, okay, probably this is something which I might not be able to do it, right? Okay, read through the question. Sometimes the question could be a kind of story, but once you start approaching it, okay, try to understand that sometimes it might not be as complicated as what you think. Okay, let's try to look at it. So what does it say? It says that Sam's house has an apple tree and an orange tree. There are two types of trees that yield an abundance of fruit. Using the information given below, determine the number of apples and oranges that land on Sam's house. Okay, in the diagram below this place, the red region denotes the house. Please mute yourself. Okay, if you want to communicate with us, you can basically communicate through chat, right? Okay, so what does it say here? The red region denotes the house where S is the starting point and T is the end point. So this is the starting to end point. The apple tree is to the left, which is visible here, and the orange tree is towards the right. So I think you should be able to see the orange tree also, because since I've increased the font size, so we can see the orange tree also here. So the apple is towards the left, the orange is towards the right. Okay, right. Okay, fine. Next. Okay, yeah, don't ask me a question that the climatic conditions for apples and oranges should be different. So how can apple and oranges, okay, can be just in the same, okay, climatic condition, just one on the left and one on the right. Okay, just an example, right? Okay, assume the trees are located at a single point where the apple tree is at point A and the orange tree is at point B. When a fruit falls from its tree, it lands D distance. Okay, it will fall. It will basically fall D distance. D could be less or it could be more. Okay, right? For every fall, they will be specifying what is the distance on which it is fallen, right? It also says when a fruit falls from its tree, it lands D from its tree of origin along with x-axis. A negative value of D means the fruit fell D units towards the, okay, this negative, this is more of negative. This side is basically positive, right? Okay, a negative value of D means the fruit fell D units towards the tree's left, and a positive value of D means the T, okay, it falls D units towards its right. Clear? Now, remember, if you just look at this diagram, I'm reducing the font size. So anything which is negative for apple, it means it will not fall on the house, right? The same way, anything on positive side of orange will not fall on the house. Okay, but does it mean that every positive side of, okay, fall of apple will fall in the house? No, either it could be falling before the house, or it might jump from here and then fall beyond this house. That's also possible. Okay, the three possibilities. One, it can fall within this area. There's one possibility. That is second possibility is on the house or beyond the house. Okay, three possibilities. So we just need to count how many apples and oranges fall on this house, right? We just need to calculate that. Fine. So now again, given the value of D for M apples and N oranges, determine how many apples and oranges will fall on Sam's house. Okay, in the inclusive range of S, T, right? So when it just falls on S, it means it is on the house. Don't think that it just touches the wall and then falls down, right? It basically is considered it fell on the house, right? Sam's house is between 7 and 10. Apple tree is located at 4. Orange is at 12. There are 3 apples, 3 oranges, and apple is thrown at these distances. Orange is thrown at this. Adding each apple distance to position of the tree, where exactly they lands. Orange land at these positions. Okay, so let us try to look at this. So first it says Sam's house is between 7 to 10. So this is 7 and this is 10. A is at 4. Okay, B is at 12. This is 12. There are 3 apples, 3 oranges, right? Now apples are thrown at 2 plus 2. 4 plus 2, 6. 6. 6, does it fall? No, 6 does not fall. Okay, next, the second one falls at a distance of 3. positive 3. 4 plus 3 is 7. Yes, second one falls on the house. Third one, it just fell down here itself. So third one will fall minus 4. Minus 4 in the sense it falls here. Okay, not here, minus, okay, here. So it's not falling on the house. Fine. Okay, next. Coming into the oranges, 3. First is 3. 12 plus 3, 15. First orange does not fall in the house. Second one, minus 2. Minus 2 is at 10. Second one, yes, it did fell. Third one, minus 4. Minus 4 is on 8. Yes, it did fell. Right? So we can just observe that, okay, the first one did not fall here. Second one did fall here. Third one did fall here. And we could just see here only the second one could fall. Right? So 1 apple and 2 oranges fell on the house. Right? Okay. So now lot of input and all those calculations, but again, let me repeat. If you understand the question thoroughly and if you look at it one step at a time, then you don't think that it is very complicated. Okay, right. So a lot more information about how the input will be given. The first line of input contains 2 separate integer values, which is respective starting and ending value of house, S and T. Okay, I'll just try to roughly write the code here. Rather than like instead of moving up, down, I will just try to roughly write the code here. Okay, for the input. So the first one is S and T. So I need to read this. First line will need to read this. Second line, read E and B. Okay, A and B in second line. Third, okay, M and N, which is third line contains 2 space separated integers denoting the respective values for number of apples and number of oranges. Then fourth line will basically contain an array of elements. Okay, again, so if M is 5, just assuming M is 5, there'll be 5 apples, and if N is 3, there'll be 3 oranges. Fifth line contains N space. Okay, this is my fourth line and this is my fifth line. So first, let us try to write the code for reading it. And if you feel that the variables A, B, S, T are not very descriptive in form, so if you want, okay, we can give apple tree position, then orange tree position, house start point, house end point. We can basically give this. Okay, so we can just give such kind of names. Here there might be a lot of code. You can delete it if you want. Fine. And header files, as per the need, we try to include it. So again, you can use any language. If you want, I can just take the same problem, solve it in Python as well as C. So here you won't see that there won't be much difference between Python and C. So I'd like to write house start. Okay, start position. Okay, house end position. And then what we basically have, tree position, apple tree position, apple tree position. Okay, I'm not writing that position. Okay, because the variable name will be quite large. Orange tree. Well, this is basically the orange tree position. Okay, and this is number of apples and apples, and you can say n oranges. So the variables I'd like to read one by one. I'll start. House end. Then, since I'm using scanf, the next, what does next line say? It says I'm going to enter position of A and B, which is apple tree and orange tree positions. Apple tree, orange tree. Then number of apples and oranges. Okay, and number of apples, then number of oranges. And after that, I'll next fourth line will contain the fall position of each of the apples. So there will be a loop which is running for the number of apples which has fallen. Right? For that, you need to create two arrays. You need to create two arrays. So I say apple drop positions. Okay, I'll say A drop positions, which is number of apples. Right? If you want, you can also write more elaborated names, guys. So we can say apple drop positions. You can write more elaborated variable names. Don't hesitate in giving variable names. Fine. Okay. So here I'd like to write address of A underscore drop. Okay. Of I. Same way, orange drop positions. This is an array. I'd like to read this. Okay. Yeah. First, let us observe if our reading is right or wrong. Right. Then we will try to go ahead with the next things. Okay. First, I'd like to understand if my reading is right or wrong. I'd like to use printf, because many times what happens is you will be thinking there's a problem in the logical part, but the actual problem is probably your reading itself. You're not read things properly. Okay, or many a times like you basically say I answered rightly in the I answered in the interviews, but still you're not selected. One of the problem could be that you answered, but did you answer for the question which was asked? Right. So the first thing is to first check out that have you understood the question or not. Once you have understood the question, if in case there's a doubt in the question, you have to clarify. Once you do that, then you can always go ahead, try to answer it. Fine. Here I did a mistake of orange. See here, line number 21, I done a mistake. I should have used orange drop. Okay. Right, O drop. Okay, I'll try to use. Fine. So here I've not written any logic as of now. I just want to check out if my reading is right. 7, 11, 5, 15, 3, 2. Okay. Write everything. My input. Okay. Yeah. Here, why is it printing of the elements? Because here again, this should be number of oranges, not number of apples. Right? Number of oranges. Got it? See the mistakes. What we ended up, we saw that loop was same, and then we forgot to change these things, right? So now we could just see if my reading of input is right. Okay, my reading of input is right. Then I can go ahead and work on it. Fine. Yeah, Varsha. Okay, there's a small announcement from Varsha.
So thank you, guys. We are, as we are continuing with the webinar. We would want you to take just about 30 seconds to fill the form that we have posted on the chat window. It is extremely crucial and important for us to have the feedback. We need to understand as to how you felt, so that we will come back with more such engaging and educative programs going forward. Also, it is important for you to fill it, because only for those who have made an effort to stay, learn completely, will we be able to give the certificates. So we will get the data for the certificates from the form that you fill. It is extremely crucial for us to have, and as we would need we would need and appreciate each of you filling the form. Thank you. Over to Sikandar sir.
Yes, welcome. Okay, so While doing this task of printing the inputs, whatever we have read, what exactly we did was we learned that we had done some mistakes, like the number of times this loop repeats. Okay, we had not done the changes, and then this particular variable we had not uh, modified it accordingly. We just kept it as apple drop every day, right? So now this portion is done, so it's not required now. If you want, you can comment it this, or might be you can basically try to remove it. But yes, commenting, see, anytime if you want to again go back and uncomment it, you can always work on that. Okay, right. Now I need to understand, I need to calculate drop positions. Okay, see, I have the drop position. I want to check out that if each of these drop positions is falling on the house or it's not falling on the house. That's the important thing what I need to understand. So what should I do? I need to basically take up, again, go back to the question, have a look at it. Like, okay, what it was trying to say is the position of the tree plus distance, is it within this SNT on the house? It is, okay, between this SNT distance. It should not exceed this. It should not be below this. Correct? So I need to calculate it, and then I need to verify this. If you want, you can do a calculation separate. Then you can do a verification separate, or we can basically try to combine that. Fine. So what I like to do, first I like to use this for loop to access the elements one by one. Okay. And I'd like to see this one plus the position of the apple position. Okay, if this value is within the house start and end, so this is basically, okay, drop position, okay, right? I would like to check if this is greater than or equal to house start, and this one should be less than or equal to house end. Okay, only then increment the counter for the number of apple drops, right? Count apple drops. Count apple drops. Same logic goes in for the oranges also. And yes, you can always think that, can I basically use functions? Because when I say functions, the user defined functions. And the answer is yes. Okay. The drop position, this is count orange drops. And finally, we need to print apple drops. And then I need to print the orange drops. Right? I'd like to do this. In case if I go wrong, we are lucky enough so that we can even check out if, okay, debugging. I did not go wrong in sample test cases. Let me try to submit it out here. Okay, guys. So luckily we could solve and pass all the test cases. Yes, okay. But remember here, it does allow us to look at these test cases, but in the real interviews, they don't allow you to look at the test cases, guys. Okay. Here, that such a large input, and you can just see there are 18,000 apples, 90,000 oranges which has fallen. Okay, so like we'll be very happy if our house, okay, it belongs to that area where you can see so many. You can just see there's so much of large inputs. So generally, when we tend to write programs, we don't work with such large inputs. We just tend to work with very small inputs. But guys, now if you just look at, I think if I want, I can just take this and then I'll try to just put in another window so that we can just view only the coding part, and I'll try to remove this. Right. Okay. So guys, what I would like to ask you is, like, when you looked at this question, yes, the question looked quite lengthy, wherein till here it's like reading of the inputs. This is just like reading of the input, nothing more. Okay, and just see here, this is the only logic. In fact, if you just look at this and this, it's like repetition, only the variable names changing, the logic remains the same. So did you feel that the solution will be as simple as this when you just went through the question or looked at the size of the question? We'll just look at the size of the question. Size of the question looked more lengthier than the size of the solution. Okay, so I would say don't just decide the question is difficult or easy. Just based on size of the question, read it, and then you could and try to give it okay attempt. Fine. Then sometimes you see that things are not as difficult as what you think. Okay. Yes, it requires a lot of practice. The more you practice, then there is a higher possibility that the problems what we are encountering, okay, in the interviews, those questions you'd have, or similar question have worked on it. Okay, so we basically talk about, okay, a simple way. See, we all talk about machine learning. Machine learning is all about learning from past experiences. The more data, the better predictions it can basically do. The more you have practiced programs, you have studied, then when you attend interviews, right, you'll be in a better position to solve that problem and to crack the interviews. The less you studied, then there are lesser possibilities. So, okay, it is important that we basically do a lot of practice with lots of problems, okay, with guidance, right, to basically make sure that our knowledge improves. Fine, things are clear till here. So if you want, I'll share you this code, guys. You can take it and put it in HackerRank. I'll give you the link of the HackerRank also. Fine. Just click on the question link, the apples and oranges of HackerRank. Then I've already given the code in the online GDP. Just take that and paste it out there and try to run it. Then we'll start. Okay, at least make a note of this link. Capture the links, as the links might not be accessible after the test. Okay, guys. Now, we worked on this platform, right? We got into looking into various sections. It allows us to basically work on C. It allows me to basically work on Python, right? C++, everything. And we did some problems on one based on matrix, one is again based on arrays. If you want, you can a little bit use vectors for this.
If you sit properly.
Okay. If you want to work with vectors, yes, you can work with vectors. You can work with list and everything. Okay, perfectly possible, guys. Okay. You can always change these programs to vectors and all. Fine. Okay. Now, what I'd like to do out here is, since we have done here algorithm session we have basically worked on. I'd like to get into a data structures one. I'll try to go back to this and I'll show you that there's a data structures one. This is data structures, right? Now, see here we do have again based on arrays, based on linked list, fine, based on stacks, based on queues, okay, and all those things. Now, again, linked list is something what we basically, I think when we study data structures, we do study linked list as a part of a syllabus, right? People from computer science would basically study, right? But yes, so here we need to understand that the linked list programs, you start with one function slowly, slowly, slowly. When you keep on running up the functions, the size of the program becomes larger. It involves a little bit pointers if you work on C++, right? So what happens is like we feel like, okay, fine, linked list is always difficult. Remember, many a times in the interviews, they might not ask you to write a linked list program with all the 10 functionalities or 15 functionalities. They'll tell you to basically work on and implement one functionality rather than implementing all the functionalities, right? So here, the amount of code what you need to write is only for that particular function. You don't need to write the main function. You don't need to basically define the structure. Yes, while working on this, we need to basically work on a structure which has been specified here. Okay, so you can just observe. I'll just try to take up one problem. Right? Any of these problems, you can basically take it up. Okay, let me just try to take up a simple problem like insert a node at the tail of a list. Let me just try to take up this. Okay, the first and foremost thing, what did it say? Singly linked list node. Right? You can use C, you can use C++. Okay, now is there a type definition out here or not? We can just have a look. Right? Let us see. There's a type definition. Okay, single linked list node basically means if you want to refer to the structure, we can use this name. It's already been type defined, so we don't need to. Okay, yes, if you want, you can always look into this details here. After, you can just see the structure here. After structure, they've used all the structure names out here. Fine. Okay, single linked list node. Any type def here. Okay, the pointer is head. Right. Creating single linked list, print single linked list already been predefined. Freeing that is already been predefined. Okay, so we have to just insert node at tail. Fine. Okay, so you're not supposed to write the main. Main is already written. Main is also written. Okay, so we should just write the code for the function. Insert tail. Fine. So here the logic will be same as whatever you generally study in the classes, but we have to look at the structure of the node. What is the name of the structure? What is the data part? It's called as data and next, right? So if I basically work on lead code and try to look at any of the linked list based problems, then the structure might not be exactly same. The structure might not be exactly same. So I'd like to search for based on, I'll just show you. This is another platform. Structure could be different. The name of the structure could be different. I think it's locked. Okay, here I think everything looks locked. I can search for linked list here. I'll just take up anything. Here, if we just look at the structure, the name of the structure is different. The name of the variable which holds data part is different. Here it's basically called as val, and here it's basically called as next. And the new structure is list node, whereas here it is different. It's called a struct singly linked list node. It's called a single linked list node. So when you're trying to write program on a platform, you should understand what is the name, and you don't have the provision of defining the structure. You can just need to follow what has been specified. You don't have the provision of changing the names. Right now, I would like to perform insert node at a tail. So what do I generally do? First, I need to allocate memory for a node. So how do I allocate? If I just C, I can basically use malloc. If I use C++, I'll just use new. Right? Yeah, I can do it in C and C++, but I'll rather prefer just using a little bit of C++. I'll just try to write new. Okay, the structure name, create a node. Okay, and here, if you want, you do have an option of initializing it with a provided if there is a constructor. There's a constructor, we can do it. So let me see if there is a constructor or not. If it is not there, then we will not be able to do it. So it only provides your default constructor, does not. Okay, and then it provides you only one argument constructor. The null pointer is basically set here. So I cannot pass the second argument. I can only pass one argument. Fine. Okay. So this is my new node. So here I'll try to specify this new node. Pointed to new node. Right. The same thing I can basically use malloc, but remember when I work with malloc, okay, see, I don't get the benefit of using constructor. So I need to do the job of creation of the node separate and the initializer of the node separate. But here with a new, I can do a creation of the node as well as initializers of the node. So both I can basically do. Okay, and here I'm assuming that the allocation successful. But yes, here we need to use try catch if I'm using C++ new, because if new fails, it basically throws an exception, okay, of bad underscore alloc. I'm just assuming that the alloc is successful, right? The data is set. Now I need to insert. How do I insert? I need to insert at the tail, at the last. I need to traverse to the last element. How do I traverse? I need to use one more pointer. Okay, I need to use one more pointer. Wanted to traverse. So initially it starts with head, and after that we'll try to write while go to the last node. Okay, you can use either of this. Null pointer is much better of C++ construct. See, null is something which we can work on C and C++, but null pointer is a newer one. So I just try to write. Right, goes on. Okay, right. After that, I'll try to write. What exactly is happening in this particular cases? Yeah. So here we should also take care of this is if the list is non-empty. If else only we should do this traverse to the last node. And we should also return the updated head value. Right? So let me try to run this, and then I'll also show you, explain it through pictorial diagram, like how things work. Got it? Okay, it's working. But I'd like to understand how this is working. Okay, fine. I'll do one thing. I'll try to take this code. I'll try to take a little bit of structure from that place, and I'll try to demonstrate it. This information. I'd like to take it up. See, my code is anyhow working, but since I wanted to demonstrate how things are working, I'd like to take this structure. Okay, this is my class single linked list node, which has data part, and then next part, and it has a constructor. Single linked list had basically a head pointer, and then basically constructor had set the head to null, right? So after this, I'm trying to write the main. Fine. Here. I can directly work with the single node head, and I will do that itself. Right, so that I don't require this. Okay. I'd like to call this function multiple times. I'll show you how does things work. I'd like to pass some value here, and then I say head equal to pass the head and the element. First 12, 23, 24, 45, right? Perfect. Now I'd like to visualize this in this platform, and you could really see how does it really help you out understand this quite easily. Just try to write. Sorry, so I need to change the language to C++. Okay, so first when you start in the main, we basically had a head pointer. It's a pointer to a single linked list node. So that is basically set to null in line number 35. Okay, right? Now, first time when you insert, first we create a new node. We create a new node here. Node is created. Once a node is created, the pointer is pointing to this particular place. This temporary pointer is pointing to this. And then what we do out here is we check out if the head is null, then make the head point to this. Yes, the first time the head was null. So I just said make the head point to it. Well and good. So head also points here. After that, we come out from the function back to the main. So you see head pointing to that node. You see head is basically pointing. Once you come out, this pointer would be deleted, but the head which is present in the main, will refer to that particular node. We had 12. Now, when you come to this node 23, so what we do, we again jump in, new node is created. So once a new node is created, then we check head is null. No, we take a pointer to traverse. We start from the first node and then goes all the way till the last. Is it my last node? Yes. Come out of the loop. Make the link of this 12. You'll be setting this link here. You'll be setting the link from here to here. Okay, you'll be setting this here. Please observe the set is done. Then you can just observe one iteration, two iterations, and then you can just observe finally. Okay, the same way. I'm going a little bit faster. I do understand. So you can just observe, guys, here. I just wrote only the function, and yes, I did pass all the test cases there, but I wanted to visualize how it is basically happening. I took the structure which is already defined, and then I came in and then wrote the main, call this function, and then tried to understand how elements are getting inserted, right, one by one. Okay, so you can just observe for any of the linked list problems, it is only the functions what you need to implement, nothing more. It's just the functions what you need to implement, nothing more. Okay, right. So this way you can solve problems, you can understand coding, right? Yes, I did talk about only one of the platform extensively, which is HackerRank. Yes, HackerRank is a platform where as a developer while practicing, you can basically use that platform to practicing it. Plus, many of the companies basically use it, right, for evaluating candidates, okay, during interview process. Anybody, okay, who has attended any interviews, have come across this HackerRank as a platform, guys? Anybody who has basically attended any interviews and then come across, see, we can see lead code? Yes, for practicing, yes, we can, right? But none of the companies use lead code to evaluate the candidates. Yeah, questions could be similar to what you have it in lead code, but you should also get a feel of the platform wise. Okay, so HackerRank is one of the platform, Metal is another platform, Codality is another platform, right? Sometimes Hacker, right? Sometimes, well, again, there are many. Okay, you basically have a lot of, okay, such kind of platforms, right? So if you want to practice, yes, HackerRank is one of the platforms, right? Other platforms also, okay, quite good, quite okay, popular. Among the ones which is quite popular, one is your lead code. Okay, one is a lead code, quite a popular one, right? Like you can work on linked list based problems. Okay, you can work on right, non-linked list based problems and everything. Okay, right. Very much linked list, we basically work on C++. But again, if you just want me to take some problems and then randomly try to evaluate, execute it, I'll just try to take something on strings. Yeah, here okay. So I'm basically trying to take up one problem out here on a lead code. Okay, in the lead code, what happens is you cannot write main. You cannot write main, right? You should only write the function. You should not write anything else. Fine. So here there's a question called as valid parenthesis. It says that valid parenthesis. What does it say? Given a string S containing just the characters, this one. Remember, the same question is also present in HackerRank, right? Determine if the input string is valid. Input string is valid if open brackets must be closed by the same type of closing bracket. Open bracket must be closed in the same order. Every closed bracket has a corresponding open bracket of the same type. Okay, so it gives you some sample inputs. This is a valid input, valid parenthesis. This is also valid parenthesis, but this is not valid parenthesis because we have one opening, okay, of function style and the closing of the square bracket, so it's not matching. This is matching. This is not matching. We do have one opening square bracket and closing square bracket and the function parenthesis one, but they are not in the same order. How do I basically approach this? This particular problem is very much related to stack. Fine. So again, how do we use stack and how do we, okay, how do we solve this? So what you do it is you take the input. You take the input. Whenever you encounter opening, you put in a stack. When you encounter okay, closing, just look at the top of it. If the top, sorry guys, that's a small, okay, fine. So if the closing, you should again compare, is this top stack, is the corresponding opening, then you pop this out, right? Same way here, if you look at this goes in, second one removes this out, third one, okay, we'll place it here, fourth one will remove this, fifth one we'll try to place it here, and sixth one will remove this. So at the end, it should be empty again. But when I encounter this, I'll place this first. But when I encounter this closing, when I compare this, it is not matching. It is not matching. So it is not balanced. Fine. Yeah, again, I can basically work on this on C++, Java, Python, anything. But when you talk about in Python, we don't have a built-in something data structure called a stack. We can just use the same list itself to basically create a stack. But if you work on C++, there's a built-in stack. Okay. When I say stack, it's something like, similar to arrays, but with limited restriction on the operation what you can perform. You can only perform insert on the on the top and delete from the top, and inserting on the top is basically called as the push, and deleting from the top is called as pop. You can't insert in between. You cannot traverse and everything. So let me try to use this, and I also try to write the main and the corresponding demonstration of all this. So I'd like to create a stack of characters. C++ provided built-in stack. So I need to traverse for character C in S. This is a new style for loop of C++. Yeah, many a times when people study in C++, if you're using Turbo C, then you neither have access to this, you neither have access to this particular style of for loop, right? So never use Turbo C to work with C++, because that's like 1992 one. It's been more than 30 years. I think we should. At that time, Manmohan Singh was the finance minister, not the prime minister. Now after finance minister became prime minister, and then he left the world also, right? And you guys were not even born at the time, fine, or most of them, right? So don't use Turbo C. Use other compilers if you want to work. What should we do? If it is equal to either this one or C equal to this one, or C equal to this one, what should I do? I just need to write. Oh, sorry, I cannot use this as yes again. I see yes, take it on. List dot append. If you're using list, you can just write list dot append. Else here, if C equal to this and stk dot to get the top element, we call it as peak in Java, or you can access the last element by using just one. You can do that. In that case, stk dot pop, if top is also equal to, if it is not opening, if this is closing, and the top is this. Let me just same way. If this is closing, opening, right? But if you just observe all these three, you can see that the body part is same. So instead of writing these three if statements, I can basically try to combine. So if I want to combine this three, as one in one statement, because I don't want to write this 3 times. Now I need to combine these conditions, right? So I need to use some operator in between and take this portion and then place it here. And then again, the operator comes in between. After that, I need to place this here. So you need to tell me if I have to write this, the same operation being done. So my question is, what should be the operator here? Generally, to combine conditions, we only use one of the 2 logical operators, logical AND or logical OR. So which one should I basically use it here? Janavi, how many questions do we need to solve in this particular platforms? Again, let me tell you that if you are almost all the companies expect programming knowledge, even though if you're coming from EC background. I think many times the people from EC have a conception that they don't need to be good at coding. But remember, in India, most of the work relevant to electronics is more of writing implementation part, on the electronic, not the manufacturing of electronics, right? So the embedded engineers, they all basically do the job of coding. So it's necessary to do the coding, right? Yeah, might be the choice of language. If you want to get into embedded, it could be C. If you want to get into data science, it could be Python. If you want to get into Java backend development, almost banking related backend development thing, you can basically use Java, right? You need to start with the basic problems and then start solving it. I think at least around minimum 50 questions you can basically try to solve it in HackerRank, and then might be at least around 10 questions from medium level questions you should be able to solve it, and that will basically I think you should be in a decent enough to basically get into the range of the 3 to 5 packages like Accenture, most of the mass marketing companies, what names what we know, and then the other companies. But if you basically want to get into the places where you need to get like high paying salaries, then you need to extensively work a lot. Fine. Logical or, yes, it's basically or, either this or this, right? Not the and. Okay. Yeah, I can write in one line. Okay, just for okay. So fine, no problem. If one of them fails out of these 3 conditions, it means that they were mismatch. Right? So I can just try to write return false. I need to return false or true. Is it matching or not matching? It's Boolean. Okay, that's one. Right. Let us see if they can basically. Okay, I'll try to run this, and then I'll try to say if everything is fine. Try to run true. I'd like to run this and see that some test cases do pass and some test cases do fail. And once it fails, that basically gives me an opportunity to basically understand I'll try to compile this. So what does it say? Semicolon missing. So here also semicolon. You know why this mistakes suddenly so many mistakes? Because when you work on Python, then you generally tend to have this mistake of missing out the semicolon. Okay. This. Okay, let me try to submit this. I think we might have passed the sample test cases. I try to submit, but it will not pass. Okay, there are a lot of corner cases which we have not considered. So it said that, oh, there is some problem here. So the input out here is basically if you had only this one, as per our code, what happened? Okay, we inserted this to a stack and then we reached the end. And then at the end, once you come out of the loop, we just said, yes, it is always true. We just wrote true. But remember, the actual output is false because we did not have the corresponding closing. Okay, how do I check this? So once you come out here, remember the stack should be empty. If stack equal to empty, then return true. stk.empty. If this returns is true, then return true. Otherwise, return false. Fine. I think if you write one statement, you might not be able to understand. Let me try to write it. If stack.empty, if that returns true, okay, meaning we don't have anything left out in the stack. Okay, so now I need to compile this. So it says 6th case which failed. So I'd like to submit. Now again, we face this problem telling that deadly signal. Okay, segmentation fault, more of segmentation fault. So here the 7th case. what happened here is basically we did not have the opening, we came across the closing. We came across closing, and then we are saying, what is the top of the stack? And he said, like, you don't have anything in the stack. How can I basically get you the top of the stack? So checking the top of the stack only makes sense if there is already an existing element. Otherwise, you should not do this. So this we have to say if the element exists and if the stack dot empty equal to false and this one. Okay, remember there should be some element present. Only then we can see the top. If the element is okay, stack is empty, if you already encountered the closing, it means that the closing came before the corresponding opening, so it does not match. Okay, so we have to check for this. Fine, we're trying to get the top element when the stack was empty. Right? Now, okay, guys, so we can just see we could basically solve this problem. Okay, don't worry too much with respect to this. What is your position and everything? Okay, right? Clear, guys? So we basically learned out here about the stack data structure. We can see we do have map in C++. We have dictionary in Python. Okay, we did not look into that. There are problems which can work on this. There's a heap-based problems. There is dynamic programs. Okay, there's a lot of things what we can basically work around, right? So there are lots of problems what we can work on. Okay, see, recently one of my students got placed in Amazon. Okay, so I'd like to just show you a little bit about his lead code profile. I don't know if I can just give me a second, guys, because I need to get into LinkedIn and then go to his profile and then have a look at it. Okay, guys, I'll just show you. So the guy who passed out in 2023, in 2022, he has worked on 249 days out of 365. And you can just see in 2023, he has out of 365 days, 361 days he has solved at least one problem, right? Okay, so 22-23 is a time when he basically worked on, and after that he got into Flipkart, and now, okay, just a month back he basically got into Amazon. So if you basically are targeting for a higher companies and everything, then your efforts should also be matching to that, guys. If we want to do less work and then we expecting high paying jobs, right? So that's not going to work out. So you need to know what is that target what you're setting, and then accordingly we need to work around with it. Fine. Okay, so with this I would like to stop discussions of this topic, guys. Okay, I hope you guys have learned things in this particular session. Yes, complexity does matter. See, when you solve more and more problems, then even with regards to big O notations, all those things does matter. See, we need to solve. Okay, there are a lot of problems. Like I can just show you. In fact, I've also created some videos on something. Like if you just look into 𝐳 cookies, right? There's a problem which basically tries to solve it in one approach, and then that particular approach does not solve. So if I'll just hacker rank 𝐳 cookies. 𝐂𝐸𝐴N cookies. You can just look into HackerRank 𝐂𝐸𝐴N cookies. If you look at this problem, okay, this particular problem, I've tried to solve it in one approach, and I know that there's not more of a linear fashion, and that linear fashion does pass some sample test cases, but not all test cases. So here I'm trying to demonstrate this using first explaining the problem and everything, and then I'll say that it does not pass all the test cases. It does not pass all the test cases. There's a timeout option. Yeah, if you just look at it, some passed, but after that there was like timeout, more of timeout. You just observe and then redid the same problem using a tree-based approach, which again solved this problem. Okay, so when we work on this, we can basically see come across a lot of problems where you try to approach on one particular way, and that particular approach might not be wrong, but be correct, but not be very efficient. So we have to change the data structure. Okay, so such things and all we can basically do it just in cookies, or you can say mana sandstones. Okay, even here you will see that first problem was basically solved using recursion, and then that basically had a problem, and then it again timeout problem. Again after that demonstrating the same thing. Okay, with first explanation everything okay. Then coming to this, he did not pass this 2 test cases. Okay, sorry, not 2, more than 2, right? A lot of test cases did not pass. Then redoing that problem, okay, redoing the problem, and finally everything is okay. So this way we'll try to take a lot of problems where the same problem can be solved in different ways, and then try to tell you that okay, yeah, the more and more you work on different algorithms and then get to know that okay, all those things, that is something which is okay, which helps us to basically write more efficient codes. Got it, guys? Okay, mana sandstones, okay, and then 𝐶𝐸𝐴N cookies are the problems where basically it demonstrates why this okay timeout basically happens, and then trying to change the algorithm. There are a lot of such kind of problems. I can show you a lot of such cases here also in my case. Even if we talk about the max stack, called as min, we have a min stack in lead code. We have a max stack here. Largest element in stack. I think I can just go to this. Data structures, stack-based problems. The maximum element, and I'll show you my submissions. First time when I submitted, right, it terminated. Why? Not that the logic was wrong, but the approach was not right. It passed some test cases, it did not pass some test cases. Okay, so we had to modify this. Once we modified it, we basically okay saw that it could basically, and this clearly says that I'm working on HackerRank for past 10 years. So probably when many people were in primary school. Okay. Are you fine? So I hope things are clear. With regards to coding platform like Arjit Chatterjee, when you talk about the naming convention and everything on the platform, it might not matter. But when you're trying to sit face to face and then trying to write on the notebook, using names, okay, appropriate names also matters. So what kind of names do we use? Do we try to write through functions? Okay, right, all those things also does matter. On the programming platforms, okay, the names does not matter because just the output is compared. But yes, that is one of the drawbacks that okay, are working on programming platforms. If you just look at most of the solutions, okay, they don't give a lot of importance on naming conventions. So please, okay, remember, there some people basically want to make sure that they can type fast and submit fastest and then try to get the output. But in any large programs, okay, the naming convention is very, very critical, right? So we have to give meaningful names which tells you what exactly that variable is holding, okay, or what exactly the function does. That is really important. Yes, ma'am, I'm done.
Okay, thank you so much. So thank you for that educative, engaging webinar, sir. I'm sure most of the youth have benefited from um, this webinar, learning how to code, and most importantly, on those professional platforms, as it will be helping their interviews.